I got yelled at pretty badly by my boss today, so to cheer myself up, I'm gonna make a video. Let's go. Okay, so I really don't think there's a better way of cheering myself up after getting chewed out by a minion besides talking about Ken Follett. So, if you don't know my feelings on Ken Follett, look up there. No, it's actually there. Ken Follett is a Welshman, and he was originally a writer of thriller, but then in 1989 he wrote The Pillars of the Earth and has been writing historical fiction ever since. So originally, The Pillars of the Earth was a standalone. It came out in 1989, and then its sequel, World Without End, which is right here, it's sturdy, it's pretty long, came out in 2007, followed by A Column of Fire, which came out in 2017, and then the prequel, The Evening and the Morning, which came out in 2020. He has a fourth Kingsbridge book coming out this September. It's going to be called The Armor of Light, and it's going to take place during the Age of Industry, so I'm told. I've read. I love the Kingsbridge books and Ken Follett, and I finally figured out why, so we'll talk about that. And we will also talk about why we don't need another Kingsbridge book. So there is going to be mild spoilers in this video. First of all, none of the Kingsbridge books really have a very solid plot, so there's not much to spoil anyway. It's not like is this character going to overthrow the Empire? Is he going to win the final battle? No, it's not like that. It's all very small, kind of, every character has their own microcosm of conflict, but there's no big overarching story really in any of them that leads us to like a yes no with really really high stakes. So from that description, I think a lot of you are no longer interested because no, there's not really a solid plot in them, but the setting usually is what hooks people in. So Pillars of the Earth, which is way back here behind Shakespeare, I can't get these out because my bookshelf is essentially a game of Jenga that's gotten out of hand. But Pillars of the Earth is behind Will right here. That takes place in the 12th century. World Without End right here takes place in the 14th century. A Column of Fire takes place during Elizabethan, and that one really does have the kind of best solid, strong internal conflict. Sectarianism. Ask me about the day I wore orange. Sectarianism. And The Evening and the Morning, again, not much of a solid plot. It takes place in the 10th century. Into the 10th century. So, the best place to start with this series is Pillars of the Earth. It's the flagship of the series. It's the book everybody knows the best. It's great. It takes place during the Norman Dynasty. I had my problems with it, namely the lack of a strong central conflict, but it is what it is. It's about Tom and his stepson Jack, their children, Prior Philip, who they start to build a cathedral, and that's basically the connecting thread between all the characters, is just they're part of this town called Kingsbridge. A psychopath named William is trying to destroy their lives, and that's the conflict. It takes place during a time in English history called the Anarchy, when my ancestors were ruling England. So, yeah. So that is Pillars of the Earth. World Without End is about Karis Murthan, the biggest fail of a hero of all time. Murthan is such an idiot. We've got Psychopath Ralph. He's the psychopath in this one. Ralph, who's the other character? Oh, Gwenda. Spoiler, rapist. Gwenda is a rapist. And there's lots of rape in these guys' books. Lots of rape, lots of violence towards women. World Without End actually has a male rape scene, which is a huge missed opportunity. Gwenda rapes somebody, and there's like a really famous old Amazon review that I can't find anymore, but it's hilarious. It just says I quit after the third rape because there's so much rape in really all of these books. And so that one is about it's basically Karis and Merlin's love story, and it takes place during the Black Death. That book is a slog. It is a huge slog. It is Ken Follett at his weirdest, and it's a it's hard to get through. It's hard to get through because not much really happens. The characters sort of just go around in circles. It's basically just a repeat of Pillars of the Earth until like the last page. There is a huge, huge twist that just makes, I mean, it makes it worth it. It really does. I mean, that's got to be one of the best twists um in in the history of twists. I'm going to put it up there with The Sixth Sense. That's how good of a twist it is. And then A Column of Fire was the next one he released. I didn't read these in order. I recommend you read them in the order I read them. But A Column of Fire has an amazing ending. It's about Ned and Sylvie and Marjorie. The psychopath in this one is Pierre. The main problem most people have with this book is it's not really a Kingsbridge book, but I think that really fits the time period because at that time in English history, people were going out, they were exploring, so there's lots of maritime. There is some slavery apologetics in it, which really upset me. There's violence towards women, and there's a lot of Catholic versus Protestant, which back then was a stupid thing to kill each other over, and in the 20th friggin' century, it's probably the worst thing to kill each other over. Goodness. And then after that, a prequel to Pillars of the Earth was released called The Evening and the Morning, and that one, it's long. All these books are long, but that one really functions well as a prequel. Do not start with The Evening and the Morning. That's about Edgar, who's a boat builder, and it's about how Kingsbridge became Kingsbridge, and who's the character? Ragna? It's a weird name. They refer to her, she's a redhead, they refer to her as the Norman bitch, and I love that. So, it's about a Norman bitch, like this one, and who's the psychopath? Winston. He's a psychopath in there, and it's one of the few books where Ken Follett's gay characters make it to the end of life. They don't get murdered. So, another slight spoiler. The best way to read these books are Pillars of the Earth, World Without End, The Evening and the Morning, and then A Column of Fire. Now I'm gonna go into spoilers. The Column of Fire ends with an epilogue. One of the main character's grandsons is named Jack. Jack is the name of the main character in Pillars of the Earth, and remember, these are family sagas, so it's all about their descendants. So, 500 years after Pillars of the Earth, after Jack from Pillars of the Earth lived his life, we've got another redheaded builder named Jack who leaves Kingsbridge on the Mayflower. What an awesome ending! And lucky for me, I finished this before the announcement of the next book, so I was so satisfied. I have a video about how it warmed my little American heart. It made it so worth it. I mean, I love Ken Follett because his writing is really, really weird. I made a video about pulp. It's very pulpy. It has some weird lines in it. The characters think really bizarre things. Like, yeah, they're all oversexed, but at the same time, like some of the stuff they think about, like in The Evening and the Morning, we have the Norman bitch character. She's taking a bath, and then it says she concentrates on the hairy parts, spend extra time on the hairy parts of her body. It's like, why do we need to know this? Why do we need to know certain characters are like cunnilingus masters? Like, we don't need to know that. And it's really pulpy, and Ken Follett has a very strange obsession with body hair. Like, not just pubic hair, body hair. He will describe underarm hair, he'll describe the leg hair, he'll describe the triangle on a male, starting at his belly button, going lower, and I mean, body hair galore. You will not be able to think. Like, ladies, you will not be able to shave your legs the same way again. Just saying. But it also has really, really intellectually stimulating parts when he makes his comments on sectarianism in A Column of Fire, when he shows how the Dark Ages are becoming lighter. We're moving into the High Middle Ages where things are looking a little bit more up, about the skepticism around the humor theory of medicine in World Without End, the death of Edward II, what really happened. So there's so much deep intellectual stimuli with the pulpy weirdness. And a lot of people just skip over the pulpy weirdness. Honestly, it's my favorite part. It's just so funny. And so what I think maybe happened is writers write, writers love to write. So I don't think Ken Follett really planned much of anything. I mean, I can't speak for him. I can't tell you he's a pantser, but he wrote Pillars of the Earth and waited almost 30 years to write another. My math. Oh my god, you guys. That was embarrassing as hell. He waited almost 20 years to write a sequel, which he said took him 7 years to write, and he was working on his Century trilogy during that time, which he actually released really close together. And then he went back to Kingsbridge. He's been doing some standalones. So what I think maybe happened in Ken Follett's head is after he wrote World Without End, he had planned to end it with A Column of Fire, but then was just enjoying writing it so much that he went to The Evening and the Morning, wrote a prequel. His prequel was so fun to write and so well received that he went to another one. And I'm not going to say this is a cash grab. I really don't think it is. I feel like Ken Follett probably wrote this more for himself. Because I can tell with the way he describes everything that he really loves this setting. Kingsbridge is not a real town, but Ken Follett has said that in his imagination it's around Melcombe. I don't even really know what that is. But yeah, I just don't think we need another one. It was such a perfect ending. And I know when you're a writer, it's so much easier to just keep going, especially when you're having so much fun. But the ending was perfection. We don't need any more. We don't need to be sold any more Kingsbridge books, and we don't need to buy them. But I will.